Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's edition of Read TFOS, where I take old stories I've narrated and update them to modern audio standards. This particular story is called Slumbering Giants, written by Historical Chicken. The day we discovered them was like any other. An exploratory vessel had just crested the orbit of the 8th planet when a weak and barely discernible signal had been picked up. They relied on ancient technology, using electromagnetic waves to send signals. Amazing, it made it this far as it did from the planet without deteriorating too badly. Cloaked and orbiting that 8th planet, the crew aboard the vessel began efforts to decipher the signal. It took many months, but eventually the first words emanating from Earth could be heard and understood. It was a message of greeting, one that welcomed visitors from other worlds and offered coordinates on the planet for a designated first contact area. Whoever these people were, they were all fully prepared. These people, we soon found out, were humans. Technically, they called themselves Terrans, but your average human would look at you confused and wonder why you insulted them. We still have yet to master their culture. First contact, as they called it, went spectacularly. Our people sent a shuttle to the planet's surface, and as soon as it had broken the atmosphere, there was a full military escort awaiting them. We assumed at first they were our protection, but it has since been found out that they were attempting to show their might and would have gladly fired on the shuttle should we have proven hostile. I dare not think what would have become of the humans had they attempted that, though I believe there would be none left to find out. This was the beginning of a fruitful relationship between our peoples. The humans had advanced spectacularly with our guidance, and they supplied us with rich amounts of helium from the surface of their lunar body. For a long while, the humans were content to stay in their neck of the swamp, but eventually, their curiosity got the better of them. Within 100 years of first contact, the humans had completely colonized their home system and began to branch out towards several astronomically close star systems. In this time, the humans had made contact with numerous other species. Many would land in the very field we had, but there were times when it was the humans who had discovered the new people. First contact with any new civilization is a challenge, but through it all, humans had remained on top of negotiations and had always won out with their peaceful diplomatic missions. As the humans branched out into new systems and uninhabited worlds, the amount of new species they would meet grew exponentially, and eventually, the inevitable had happened. Humans had come up against a world with no interest in diplomacy or peaceful negotiations. The Hayatt were ruthless and took what they wanted without question. Though at first they had simply tried to avoid one another, interaction was inevitable. And so too was confrontation. Tensions came to a head in the Earth year 2376, when a colony on Feck 4 came into contention. The humans already inhabiting Feck 4 had woken early one morning to the sound of dropships hurtling towards the soil at the outskirts of the colony. Above them, the rising sun was spotted by massive Hayatt warships. The colonists, pitifully armed, offered little resistance and soon surrendered to the might of the invading force. Within hours, the Hayatt commander had contacted the United Earth government. The Hayatt had a moral compass. They would not kill indiscriminately, but they were not against the taking of hostages. To them, the ending of these lives was just a means to an end. The humans had 3 days to retract their claim on the Hayatt Dominion territory. At the time of this escalation, I was but a mere century old. I was disappointed when the humans agreed to without fight. If I were them, I remembered saying, I would have blasted the damn Hayatt out of the sky. This would not be the first time my anger fled towards the Hayatt and towards the humans for not standing up for themselves. In the next 50 years, a cycle formed. The humans would establish a colony, make a planet habitable, and the Hayatt would swoop in and claim they had already annexed the territory. More ultimatums were handed down, and the humans agreed quicker every time. It soon became that nobody cared when the Hayatt threatened the humans. Even my people humans' largest ally, would barely bring them up in conversation. After all, the humans still created colonies. What's a few in the further reaches? It was a great shock to the people of the galaxy when one day the humans didn't surrender. The Hayatt had been on our own borders for centuries, though we paid them little heed. Our might would be matched in them, and they knew that. Tensions were high, but never had shots been fired, until, of course, the siege of Yturn. Yturn had been the first adventure at a joint colonization attempt between my people and the humans. It was at the edge of both of our territories, and the Hayatt still claimed to this day that they had no idea my people were involved. This, of course, is a blatant lie. But anyhow, I've digressed enough as it is. As I said, the entire galaxy was taken aback when the humans, known to be diplomatic in everything they did, refused to back down. The resistance in Yturn was stronger than they had been encountered previously, and before surrender, many of our people had perished along with the humans. The humans, seemingly enough, found this to be an atrocity of epic proportions. They had sent a single ship with only a warning. It read, "Continued aggression towards the colonists of Yturn will henceforth be considered an act of war against the human race, regardless of what species of colonists may be harmed." I, as the newly appointed ambassador to the humans on Earth, was floored at their reaction. I had rushed to speak with whom I could. I attempted to explain to them that they need not put their own at risk for our sake, but I was every time met with reassurances and confident lines about protecting those close. If I'm being honest, I was rather overcome with emotion at these responses. The humans, having never waged a serious war since they first embraced the stars, were willing to fight our greatest enemy because they had threatened us. At the time, this was shocking, though I now know more of their culture than I had at the time. Had this happened now, I would think that I would join them in their campaign. Again, I digress. Apologies. The Hayatt, as the rest of us, was certainly surprised. This, of course, did not stop them from slaughtering the colonists and repossessing their elements for the synthesizers. What would happen next would shake the known universe to its cold, bitter core. The humans, those space-loving, law-abiding, generally benevolent humans, declared total war on the Hayatt. At first it seemed as if the action was merely ceremonial. No battles had taken place for close to half the year until the Hayatt were confident enough to attempt to take another human colony. When the Hayatt had arrived over the planet, they sent their dropships. Before the atmosphere could be disturbed, the dropships were destroyed. From every side, the single warship was taking fire. In a matter of moments, the only remnant of the Hayatt ship was a debris field, quickly cleaned up by automated satellites. The human ships still in orbit above the planet were astonishing. Sleek, silver-streaked ships that would in another time indicate an exploratory vessel now indicated a weapon of destruction. The humans, with a minimal standing naval force, had retrofitted a countless number of exploratory research, colony, and transport ships. The scariest of which was perhaps the colony ships. They lacked serious offensive capabilities, but their sheer size allowed them to house upwards of 3 newly commissioned warships. In a manner of time so coincidentally short that I could not finish a single class in a human university, the humans had become a force to be reckoned with. As strong as my people are, I fear for those caught in the humans' wrath. Their campaign into Hayatt territory began with the reclamation of every single colony they had been deprived of, with minimum casualties. For the humans, they had secured tens of colonies that once again flew the Founder's flag. I wish I could tell you that was an extent of the war, as much as I still admired the humans. What came next was nothing short of humiliation for the Hayatt. Having secured their original colonies and ramped up the forces along their borders, the humans made push after push deeper into Hayatt space. Within a year, the Empire had halved in size, and in one final push, the fleet of human colony ships carrying hundreds of the finalized warships made visual contact with the Hayatt homeworld. It was only after a threat of complete annihilation that the Hayatt finally agreed to come to the table for peaceful negotiations. In my time as an ambassador to Earth, the galaxy underwent a complete paradigm shift. Hayatt were no longer the boogeymen hiding in the shadows to take from the weak, and humans were no longer the pushovers and easy targets they had once thought them to be. The humans had revealed themselves for what they truly were: a loyal friend, worthy adversary, and merciful victors. Having seen the documentaries of their history, it would seem obvious. They did not just wage war, they did so swiftly and with ease. These people, they did not choose peace because they were terrified of war, they were simply tired of it. Death wasn't what they feared, it was more killing. They had perfected killing. End of story. I would like to thank our T5 members and patrons: Casper Arnholtz, John Creighton, Vidmori, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.